Okay, so good evening. Today we're going to look at lesson 5 and we are going to focus on project quality management. Project quality management. Okay, so we're going to start now. So the first thing we're going to discuss is looking at what project quality management entails. In everything that we do, in every task that is assigned to us, we're expected to bear in mind quality for that particular task. So if you look at project, every part of a project, we have to make sure we are focused on the scope of work, we are focused on maintaining and achieving the budget, we are focused on ensuring that we have a definite schedule for the project. All these three aspects of the project is dependent on quality. Now, what is quality? And for instance, if a project manager is working on any project and he doesn't pay attention to quality, then the project manager is certainly going to face rework. And what is a rework? A rework by definition is having a lot of defects. Okay, so when there's a lot of defect because of lack of attention to quality, it will automatically bring about a rework. So what then is quality? Quality in a simple definition is stated as the degree to which a project fulfills requirement. Now the question now is, who provides the requirement? Is it the project manager that sits on his own and begin to think of a requirement for the project? The answer is no. It is not the project manager that sits and begins to think of requirement for the project. Rather, the customer or the project sponsor provides the requirement. So we can say that a project has been quality, we can say that quality has been achieved in a project when that project fulfills the requirement collected from the customer. So we can now say from that simple statement that it is the customer that determines quality for a particular project. Take note, purpose of exam. It is not the project manager. So it is what the customer says quality is that is quality. So if the customer say, you know what, I want you to do 2/3. 2/3 for me is okay. Then to that customer, 2/3 becomes his what? Quality. That is why in the definition, we said that quality refers to the degree, which means you can't use today's quality for tomorrow's quality. So which means every product has its level of quality. And that level of quality is dependent on the customer or the project sponsor. So that is why if project A that you did yesterday and the customer said, the level of quality I want to achieve is 80%, and maybe you did that same project for another customer C, and the customer said that, well, I can't accept 80%, the level of quality I want to accept for this project must be 99%. So which means it is the customers that determines what the quality of the project. So all that the project manager do is to what? Fulfill the requirement. Alright. All that the project manager does is to ensure he fulfills the requirement. So who determines the requirement? The customer. So when the project manager fulfills the requirement of the customer, then quality has been achieved. So if we now make reference to project quality management, we can now say that the project quality management revolve around the processes. It's simply about those processes, those activities, those policies, those responsibilities that the project will have to satisfy. That is exactly what the project quality management is about. All right. But now, why do we need to pay attention to quality as project manager? Because when you focus on quality as a project manager, you begin to spend time preventing or making sure there is no problem, rather than waiting for there to be problem before you now start solving the problem. So quality in essence is that the project manager must ensure that he puts in a lot of time ensuring that quality is what is achieved. Now, if we look at that definition of quality, all right, we can simply say that quality is not achieved when the requirements are not what fulfilled. What is this word requirement? What could it mean? Requirement in a simple word simply means what the customer wants in the project. Let's say for instance, if it's in a building project, the requirement can be, oh, I want the design to be like this, which means the architectural design is a requirement. I want it to have this architectural design. That is the requirement. Oh, I want 3 rooms, one sitting room, one mini sitting room, dining room, playroom, studio room, kitchen. That is his requirement. Oh, I want penthouse. I want that. All these are his requirement. Oh, I want the house to be painted in so color. I want so kind of materials to be used. All these are his requirement. So requirement in a simple word, we can say that requirement are those things that the customer wants. And in project, those things that the customer wants, which we refer to as requirement, must be stated. So it is, please take note, it must be stated. So which means you can't achieve requirement if it is not clearly stated, if it is not clearly documented. So which means the requirement that will be fulfilled by the project that you are going to get from the customer must be clearly stated. And that is what quality is all about. Quality is being able to satisfy the customer. Anything that can make the customer to be happy, then you have achieved quality in that particular project. All right. So with that definition in mind, all right, so the quality expert sat down and looked at possibilities, and they came up with the idea that yes, it is true that quality is the degree to which a project fulfills requirement, which is the PMI standard of definition of quality. But in addition to that, modern quality defines quality as saying that, you can see on the screen the way I put it, that quality is equals to conformity to requirement plus fitness of use. What are they saying? They are simply saying that when we define quality, it is not just that we are able to achieve the requirements the customer stated, but rather, after achieving the requirement, that we can even make use of the final product as expected. So it is possible to fulfill a requirement that the customer has stated in the requirement documentation, but at the end of the day, we can't make use of the product. So that is why we said that quality in its definition is refers to as the conformity to requirement plus fitness of use. So now let's break it down and look at them one after the other. If, for instance, you want to do Black Friday, for example, let me just use that as an example, all right, and you saw a gadget you want to buy, okay, and you went through all the specification and requirements stated regarding that gadget. So if those specifications meet what you want, what then do? You order for that gadget. So now, how do we now check for quality? Quality is what? Conformity to requirement. So which means by the time you receive or you have ordered the gadget and it is delivered to you, you now check this gadget that I have ordered for, does it have all those requirements that I actually wanted, which I saw online? You check it has all the requirements. Then you now decide to on the gadget. You now discover that the gadget did not on. It's not working as expected, which means it has conformity to requirement, but it is not fit of use. So that is the concept of fitness of use. So we have seen even in the production industry, where you see, I don't know, many of us have experienced it. Maybe the production industry, they were able to produce detergent. And when they produce that detergent, it met all the requirements that the customer wants the detergent to have. But do you know that the moment they say, okay, let's sell this detergent, let people start using it, they discovered that when people use the detergent, it makes their hand to have maybe rashes or something. I don't know if you've experienced something like that, that you use a soap or a detergent and you discover that your skin is getting burnt or black or something. That is because, but it is fit, it has conformity to requirement, but it is not fit of use. So for we to have a total quality in a project, number one, it must be conform to the requirement the customer wants, number one. And when the customer is now using the end product, it must satisfy the use or the need of that particular end product. Okay, so that is the definition and concept of quality in terms of modern day quality theologies. So you can see on the screen, when all the requirements agreed upon are met, we can say yes, there is conformity to requirement. But when it happens that all the requirements are not met, something about the requirement is missing, then we can say, oh, there is non-conformity to requirement. And when there is non-conformity to requirement, it simply means that there is what? A defect. All right. So a non-conformity to requirement means what? Defect. Okay. Or you can see it brings what? Defect. Let's say, for instance, you ordered. Okay. You decided that okay, you want to customize cars for your staff. Okay, or your team members, you want them to have a customized car. You now decide to go to Innocent Motor in Anambra State for you to customize car for your staff, all right, to have a particular look. Then part of the features you want the cars to have, you say, oh, let there be two tire, one door, a good sound system, color black, the furniture should be leather, the dashboard should be fine, everything. You explain all the things you want in that car. All right, so Innocent Motor now decide to go and put that car in order. So they called you to say, well, the car is ready. Oh, by the time you look at the car, you discover that everything is there. So if everything is there, it means there is conformity to requirement. But if, for instance, they now miss the interior, you said you want leather, and they now put normal cloth, it simply means there is what? Non-conformity to requirement. Okay, that is the concept. Then fitness of use, I have said, is it going to fulfill the purpose? Yes, it is true that it has met the requirement, but the functionality of those specifications, is it fulfilling the intended purpose? Okay, so that is the definition of conformity to requirement and fitness or use. I hope that is clear. Is that clear, BC? Okay. All right, so let's move on. In modern quality, all right, in modern quality, there are some basic principles that must be upheld. In short, it is a standard principles in quality, and that is why we must talk about it. And those standard principle is very important to you as a project manager. Why is it important? Because it guides you in ensuring that you achieve quality in your project. What are those standard principles? Principle number one, customer satisfaction. Like I told you earlier, that the requirement for every project comes from the customer. And when those requirements comes from the customer or the client, then it is your responsibility to ensure that those requirements are met. And now, when those requirements that comes from the customer are met, then automatically the customer will be satisfied. That is the concept of quality. Concept of quality is that you as the project manager, you must pay attention to what? Customer satisfaction. And customer satisfaction can only be achieved when the project fulfills the requirement of the customer. Not 1 over 3, not 2 over 3. If the customer requirement is 3 over 3, then you must fulfill those requirements 3 over 3. That is number one. Number two, there is another principle which states that prevention over inspection. What that principle is saying is that when we talk about having quality in your project, the project manager, please take note, must plan in quality, which means you must plan to the extent that you will prevent every non-conformity to whatever requirement that have been provided by the customer. So which simply says that when we discuss the concept of prevention over inspection, it's simply saying that it is better for you to prevent the problem from happening than waiting for the problem to happen, then you now come and make correction. That is the concept of prevention over inspection. That is what you, the project manager, must do. You must plan in quality. Why? Because you must take it as a character that I don't want anything that will happen that will make the project not to be delivered at the agreed time. So that is why you must plan for quality. Okay? Rather than waiting for there to be chaosity and you start running around and looking for how you can recover or build back or rework what has been done. Okay, so take note, as a project manager, your quality must be planned in, not inspected in. Okay, your quality must be planned in. So which means as a project manager, you must plan for your quality. How do we plan for quality? For example, let's say for instance you are working on a project and you have a very tight schedule to deliver that project. You discover that the person that is handling that project is not very vast in what the task you have assigned, and you want him to embark on that project. What is prevention over inspection? Quality is saying that you need to plan quality for such kind of project or such kind of task by making sure that you provide a system whereby the person you want to carry out that task should go and quickly get small training, or maybe you put a small workshop together to carry out orientation, make him understand what he needs to do better, so that when he's executing he will not need to delay or start doing the wrong scope of work. So that is why you plan for it. Instead of now saying that let him go and do it, when he make mistake, he will correct himself. The time it will take him or her to correct himself after damages, it will save you more energy. Even in the concept, even in the aspect of cost, it will save you more money to make sure that even those errors do not occur. Example, you can still remember the Ikoyi buildings that collapsed. All right, that is the same concept of prevention over inspection. The original engineers that were handling the project said that no, the architecture we design is 15-story building. Now, you cannot just suddenly come and change that architecture and say, no, you know what? I want to add extra 5 or 6 stories to it. It doesn't matter, we can manage it. It matters. So you cannot see that what they would have prevented, the collapse that happened, they would have prevented, is now what now occur. So all the inspection, you can see the amount of money it would take them to correct that collapsed building if they are to start it all over again. So that is why in concept of quality, we must ensure that there is prevention over inspection. That is to say, you must plan in for quality at the beginning.